Hello, everyone. Super excited to have you on. Hello. Welcome to the Anna Alexis Podcast. All right, we are getting everything connected and ready to go. Is anybody waking up in the morning just so excited for that fall weather? I know it's only about fall weather until like 11, but I'm wearing this to commemorate that I'm ready absolutely for fall. I just want to welcome you guys. For those of you that are hearing this podcast for the first time, this is episode 18 on the Anna Alexis Podcast. And tonight we're really going to be going over, there are only 84 days left in 2024. Which is perfect because 84, 8 and 4s are my favorite numbers. So I think that is just fantastic. However, that's not a lot of time. That's less than 90 days. And we all kind of know that once the holidays hit, especially once December hits, it can be kind of easy to put things on the back burner. So for those of you that are joining tonight and you are just ready to make a change, you're ready to say and do and kind of feel and embody something different, that's what this episode is about tonight. It's really just kind of talking about honing in and saying we have 84 days left in 2024. And for those of you that are like, well, I got to just kind of write off 2024. This wasn't a great year. There were things that got in the way. Maybe I'll start next year. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you want to start something next year, if you want to start something bold and beautiful next year, we got to start it this year. We got to put those plans in motion so that we have momentum that is carrying us forward. And that's really what the Anna Alexis Podcast is all about. It's really this environment and this place that we'll get to meet every Tuesday at 6:30, where we are just going to get together and kind of talk through and be with women who kind of struggle with that clarity and value, where they can go from feeling defeated and purposeless to kind of gaining this direction and confidence so they can feel limitless in who they want to be as themselves. And sometimes as women, that's picking up pieces of ourselves that we've left behind along the way. Maybe we left them behind because we had to move. We had to care for a family member. We became a mom. We got married. We have a stressful job. Or maybe for some of you, all of that happened and you're just kind of figuring out where you're fitting. And know that if you are kind of asking yourself, what is it I need to do in 2025? I want to set myself up to win. I want to be there. I want to be able to show up. I want to invite you to a class that I'm doing tomorrow. It is going to be from 7 to 8, and it is called The 4 Ways to Rediscover the Six-Figure Woman Within. And here I'm going to talk through tonight. This podcast is really just going to be the essence of who needs to hear that. And if this sounds like you, because if you do, I'm going to drop the link in the register so that you guys can be a part of it. But really just asking yourself, can I relate to this? Could this be me? And really getting to a place to be honest with yourself, because there are 2 parts. You have to see if you're ready to go from thinking about it to doing about it. And that's not necessarily a business. Maybe that's taking a trip somewhere. Maybe that's having a phone call and hashing out some bad blood. Maybe it's forgiving yourself and making a new promise from within to take that step forward. And what's great is you get to choose. And so I'm going to drop the link in here so that everybody has it. For those of you that are on Instagram, it's going to make it a little bit harder because there is, it disappears. So it is down there in there for you guys to be able to go in and register. I'm super excited about it. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is if you are ready to rediscover and rediscover those parts of yourselves that maybe you've had to keep buried because life is moving forward and you don't know if you have time for those things. And so where is that showing up? Where is that going to be? And how can you go and do that and kind of work together? Whether that's with kids or jobs or moving or going through a loss, where can you find those parts of yourself that you're ready to rediscover that part of you and just be in that space to say, yes, I'm doing this. I'm going for it. I can't wait. The other thing is, if you're looking at this podcast to really see, how do we realign? How do we realign with who we've always meant ourselves to be? And that part can be really important. And it can be something that we can really just, quite frankly, overlook because we're so caught up in what is supposed to be. We're so caught up in what is supposed to be. For those of you that just got kicked off, I'm so sorry, on the Instagram. We are getting it figured out. But really just realigning yourself to say, how is it I want to show up in the world? What are the things that are the most important to me? What are the things that hold value to me? And what are the things that I'm willing to do differently so that 2025 is set up differently from 2024? Because really at the end of the day, it can be so easy, and it can also be so hard to just kind of be in this space of like having to chase status or money or that next job title and doing that over and over and over again. And also living in such a social media driven world where you're kind of comparing yourselves. We can kind of find ourselves comparing ourselves to someone's highlight reel and to seeing what people are posting on social media and thinking that that's how the world is, when really everybody has a little bit of something going on. And the best way that I like to think about that is when we're looking at people, especially when we are looking at somebody's social media profile, we are literally getting the tip of the iceberg, but it's like a pin tip. We are getting this much of who someone is, and trying to dictate your whole story or your whole existence based on what you're seeing online, and knowing that maybe that's not really with realigning with who you are. And maybe sometimes you might find yourself being stuck on these expectations, not just on social media, but for who you felt like you should be, or feel like who you could be, or maybe who you were that you're trying to go back to. And really just looking for a place where you can realign yourself in this truth and peace and clarity without having that anxiety and not having that fear and those limits that really can just take hold of you. And if those two things so far, if you're like, yeah, I'd like to work on that, I think that that would be great. I'm ready to start 2025 off in this beautiful way. And knowing that if you want something to grow in the future, you have to start planting today, because you can't harvest in the same season that you plant. You can't just put a seed in the ground and then expect the tree to come up and the fruit to come off and to be ready like that. That's not really how it works. So we need to plant the seed in a season where we're going to be ready to take care of that seed, where we're ready to tend to it, make sure there are no weeds around it, make sure that nothing's trying to dig it out of the ground, making sure that we are there to help cultivate it. So for those of you that are already saying like, man, 2024 was hard, it was rough, or it flew by, or it didn't go the way I wanted, know that to set yourself up for 2025 isn't to wait until January 1st, 1201 and say, today I'm going to be different. Because I think we've all been there. And if we are different, it's not for very long. And it kind of long fades. It fades away pretty shortly after the ball drops, so to speak. And so if you're really looking for that change and really looking to do something and create the thing that's maybe been on your heart this whole time, the big part is starting in 2024. It's starting now. It's starting when we have 84 days left, so that we are putting our hopes and dreams and seeds and plans into the ground and giving them a chance to grow in 2025, for them to break ground. The other thing that we're going to be talking about at the class tomorrow at 7 p.m. is really revising your current edition or your current version of what you have going on right now, and knowing that you're the author. You can make changes, you can erase, you can rip out pages. And if you want, you can take that whole book and you can just toss it away and you can start over. You can also erase people that are kind of, maybe they're the negative Nancy's in your life, or they're just sucking the ever-loving life out of you. Whether that's people, a job, or a place, really finding yourself saying, I want to find something. I want to start something. I want to rediscover within myself a place where I can start over, where I can start being in alignment with who I want to be. And we're going to do that tomorrow by taking an inventory. What's working in your life? What's not working in your life? You know, there are times where we'll spend time with either people or a place for only 5 minutes when we should probably be there an hour. And then there are some people that we spend a lot of time with, or places or shows or whatever it is that we spend a lot of time with, that maybe we should only be giving it a small ounce of our time, and taking inventory to see what is working, what isn't working. How can we start to change those things? And then also another thing that we are going to touch on, and I think that this is so undervalued, and I think that it's something that isn't talked about enough. And, you know, not even just as women, as people in general, we all have a chapter of our life that we don't read aloud. And there are times in that chapter that you're the only one that knows, or there can be chains that still hold you and kind of bind you to this past or this story or this reality that maybe isn't there. And really talking through maybe the reasons the chains are binding you, not because they're shackled to you, but maybe because if we really look at it and take a breath and stop fighting, if we really look at it, we see that we've been holding them the whole time. And if you're ready to create something starting in this season in Q4 of 2024 for 2025, it's working through and finding out, what do I need to start letting those things go? What stories can I let go of? What expectations of myself? Am I living in a rerun of the past, wishing this one event happened differently and it's consuming me and I can't move forward? What does that look like for you? Because one of the things that's hard is, especially when it's with our stories, is that if we keep telling ourselves the same story, then we're going to keep living the same life. And if you've got a life and parts of your story that you love, keep telling that story. I'll be telling the story about how much I love my dogs and my family and our trips and all of those things. But there are parts of me where I'm watching these dreams unfold and uncover, and these other stories are popping up. The stories of, hey, remember when you tried that thing and it didn't work out? What do you think that this is going to do? Or the story of, do you think you really have what it takes to do that? To do something different, to break out of the mold, to do something that isn't status quo or normal? And finding a way to figure out, who the hell is writing that story for me? Who is got the pen? And knowing and working on in our class tomorrow, revising that edition and saying, cool, that might have been what the last 15 pages were telling me, but page 16, we're writing something new. We're doing something different. We're believing something. We're putting something new into practice, because I want the next chapter to look different than this chapter. I want to show up bigger, better, different, happier, fuller than I was in prior years. And so much of that is the stories of what we feel like we deserve and what we feel like we don't deserve. The last thing that we're going to be doing tomorrow at 7 p.m. on that masterclass is we're going to work on rewriting your story. And like I said, that all takes steps with what we're doing in 2024 so that we can launch ourselves into 2025. And as you're thinking about this, we're like, I'm busy right now. Girl, who is not? Who is not? Everybody is. And again, that's a story. So instead of just reading the storybook of, I'm too busy, how do you rewrite? How can I make something happen? How can I set something up daily, weekly, monthly to set myself up to rewrite a new story? Because everybody's busy. Everybody needs more money. Everybody needs more time. Everybody needs, if they could just have it all their way, then they could make it work. Everybody's saying that. And you know what? There are people out there that are making it work because they're tired of having those stories take over who they are. So how do we rewrite that? And we're going to be setting up a plan. And then we're also going to be really pointing on, we can always try to do it by yourself. And if you're finding yourself saying, I've tried something again and again, and I just can't get any traction, and I just can't stick with it. Well, one of the things that I learned over the last year is that willpower will never beat out a community. If you've got a class at the gym, when I was doing CrossFit 6-7 years ago, and I knew my friends were going to be at that class, and I was going to them early classes because I was working for the Department of Youth Corrections and I had to be there early. So I'd be in my class even earlier. I was getting up at 4:35 in the morning. But because I knew who was going to be there and had that accountability, I'd be there. The only time I'm getting up at 4:35 in the morning right now is if my baby is awake. I don't even know if I could pull myself into doing that without having that community. And just really encouraging you that now is your time. You do deserve it. And it's all right to write yourself into being happy because you look good like that. You look good like that. And also rewriting feeling fulfilled. Because when you are happy and fulfilled, happy, healthy, whole, like we say in our house, you look so stunning like that. You look stunning when you're walking in your truth and you're not just existing in this humdrum. You look incredible and radiant when you're walking in your purpose. And even if that purpose is just being kind to yourself and showing up and believing in you. So know that I believe in you. I cannot wait for how 2024 is going to finish unfolding. And for those of you that if you haven't registered, I've got the links that are in there. In the event you're listening to this live on Instagram and it disappears or on the replay, feel free to just message me and I'll get that sent over to you. You guys have a fabulous night and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye.